because there's a couple of things going on with the council, particularly where they're trying to roll more out and work with community energy opportunities. So we want to talk a bit more ourselves about what that looks like and refresh our memories as to what we can and can't do. Got to see a couple of people who are representing solar, community solar here. Then we're going to look at an opportunity for a lottery fund of 1.5 million. That is big number, challenge for us, but it looks to be the sort of thing that we really should be looking at. So we want to talk through that with you guys to see what you think and see how you'd like to spend 1.5 million. Then we'll look quickly at Green Open Homes for this year's event. Green Open Homes Week, I can't remember when it is, sometime in September, I think. But we're not going for the big bang this time across the county. We're looking for local communities to run their own with our support. So we want to talk about how that might work. So those are the things we're going to be looking at. And we step straight into item 1, which is reflections. I don't know if we want to put it up on the screen, Julian, for a minute, just to see what we're talking about.
What were you thinking of the agenda?
Yeah, just see the agenda if you can.
Yeah,
I've got it on another screen, but I can't put it over.
Okay, let me try and get that.
Oh, and Andrew sends his regards. He's away having a great dinner with his wife on his wife's birthday, so we've let him off for the night.
There we are.
Okay, so we've got 3 things we want to look at here. One is the MP meeting, which took place on the 9th of July, which Julian will run through, where a large number of people, mainly driven through Friends of the Earth and other groups, went up to Westminster to meet with their MP and talk about climate change. So it's going to be an interesting feedback there. And then I want to talk with you all about what after the summit. So I don't know how many of you attended the summit that we ran for 2 days last month with the council, but a lot of people went away from there energized and wanting to do a lot of things. I just wondered whether there were people in tonight's meeting who'd been and were now pursuing lots of other things, or whether it just consolidated their thinking or whatever. So we just want to have a quick chat about that. And then a couple of people have been asking about what happened at the council meeting this month. So on particularly 2 subjects. One was Lime Down, and the other was the climate emergency, which I'll talk about for a couple of minutes and explain what happened. So if we deal with that first, so MP meeting, what you guys are doing after the summit, if anything that's changed, or whether it's just consolidated what you're thinking, and then I'll talk about the council meeting. So Julian, over to you. You can take that off now if you want, so you can get a better picture of people.
I'm just going to share just 2 slides very quickly. Should get slicker at this, but it's quite tricky when you've only got one screen here. Where it's gone. I think that's the one I want. Moving everything around. I don't know if you can see that properly. So that's just a picture of when that was one of the constituency meetings in Westminster on the 9th of July. There are 7 constituencies in Wiltshire. This was North Swindon, South Swindon. The MP couldn't meet us on the day. She's a cabinet minister and she didn't want to. I think she might have been a bit shy. There were 5 others, and I'd like to get any feedback from anyone here as to what happened in your meetings. I'm aware that in East Wilts, and I'm not sure if there's I'm going to stop Yeah, in East Wilts, I don't think there was a meeting. I'm just going to stop sharing a minute because so I can see everyone. Has anyone else got any report back from their MP meetings? Kate,
Yeah.
hello, you're there. Great. What happened with you? You're on mute, Kate.
Sorry, point, folks. Yeah, I was East Wilts. 4 of us went up. Our MP, I'd written to him through the website. I'd then written him a handwritten letter, which I delivered to his office, asking him to be there. And we turned up 3:15, which was our time, and he wrote at 3:30 to say he wasn't coming. So that was a bit disappointing. But what it did do was allow me to know that there were 3 other people who are keen to kind of keep an East Wilts climate group going. One of them is Dave Waltham, who is the professor of climate at Royal Holloway College and has done a couple of really excellent talks in Marlborough and is very active. And he's particularly into carbon charging, carbon taxing. So yeah, so that was me. So East Wilts, we were represented, but our MP didn't turn up.
Yeah, did you manage to get keep a list of all the contacts?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can share their emails with anybody else, but I can.
Oh no, you
I can
can't
find
share it.
out.
But I mean, at least you've got
Yeah,
that group
I've
that
got
you
an
can
East Wilts
communicate with.
group now.
And there were several others that Climate Coalition had signed up, weren't there? But I'm trying to get them to sort of give us the opportunity to talk to each other.
Yeah.
You know,
Andy Mallory's got his hand
yeah.
up.
Yeah, I just wanted to know who was the MP in East Wilts?
Danny
It was our
Kruger.
friend Danny Kruger.
And which political party does he subscribe to?
Let me think about that. Conservative?
I'm guessing Conservatives. Yeah, it sounds like Conservatives. Yeah, okay, thank you. That's my question.
I'm just going to share another slide. I can get that up quickly.
While you're doing that, Anthony.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm just going to say, following on from June the 21st, Ros Savage was there, and she's the Liberal Democrat constituency MP for South Cotswolds. It's the new constituency, taken over from James Gray. Very positive reaction. I'm working with her on the Climate and Nature Bill, so working through Zero Hour, the activist group, and so that was, I think we put on a good show in terms of that. So that was very good news indeed. So I don't know whether anybody else has had feedback from Ros on that, but she was certainly very friendly and well disposed to our constituency. And I'm just trying to think who else was actually there from our side to actually meet Ros. Just look up.
You actually had a meeting in Westminster on the day, did you, Anthony?
No, it was done remotely. It's done on the
okay.
It wasn't Westminster as such, but yeah, it's interesting that we're very much on the map as far as Ros is concerned in terms of what we're doing. It's both ourselves and Wiltshire Wildlife Trust.
Okay. So I was just going to show this a minute, and then I'll talk about the other 3 items quickly on 3 sub-items for this. This is the current Wiltshire constituencies and the current MPs, and I've also put up the predicted voting if according to polls today. Now, obviously, there's been quite a big swing away from Labour, and Conservative have collapsed quite a lot and Reform are quite high. And the result of that is that as things currently stand, and hopefully by the election things will sort of themselves out a little bit, is we've got a good sprinkling of Reform MPs actually in Swindon and Wiltshire, which I was surprised to see quite how strong they were polling at the moment. So in Swindon, we got 2 MPs, and in North, Reform would win quite a margin. In South, they had very neck and neck, and then also 2 of the Conservative currently constituencies, South West Wilts and East Wilts, predicted to be Reform, and Salisbury is sort of quite a close runner-up as well. The Lib Dems are holding on strongest at the moment, but it's just I just put that up to sort of point out that we ought to take quite an interest in electoral politics before the next election, because the sort of climate supporting MPs need all the support they can get. It's a shame that in every seat in Wiltshire, as you can see, the Green Party is runner-up in last place. I'll take that down, but I just put that up to have a look at, and I can share it with anyone that wants to have a more detailed look. So what's happening now in terms of the MP meetings is that following...
Jason wanted to say something, Julian.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, just to say that Melksham and Devizes, Brian Matthew, I think there were about 9 went to see him. I should have looked at the details before this meeting, but very reassuring from him about how he's going to vote.
Yeah,
I can't add more.
Thanks, Jez. There's a national meeting, was there, with 9 constituents in Westminster, are you saying? Oh, brilliant. Okay, yeah. So the situation now is, because a lot of MPs weren't able to meet, they're looking at organising meetings along the same lines in the constituencies. And as I put in the agenda notes in the email, there's a page where you can register to contact other Climate and Nature Bill supporters in your constituency. And the Climate Coalition, who organised this mass MP in Westminster, is collaborating with 0 Hour, which is the people organising the Climate and Nature Bill campaign. And they're being a bit more helpful in bringing together constituency groups of people who have registered from diverse places. So I would strongly recommend that everyone registers for that, and I put the link in the email so that you can connect with the other people who are sort of campaigning to your MP on climate change and organise a meeting in September. You can also you can also request a September meeting with your MP now, in the hope that you'll get some other people along, but I'm not sure that's quite the most effective way of doing it. Personally, I would register here and talk to 0 Hour and try and get yourself together with the others, and then write as a group to try and organise a meeting in the constituency.
Yeah, I'd strongly second that. Actually, Julian, I think that's spot on. Oliver Saduchek sadly has left 0 Hour, but I spent quite a bit of time with him in December and also earlier this year as well. And I think the main issue that they're worried about is how many voters, as you were saying earlier, with regards to reform, how many voters will desert Labour and Conservative, vote reform in the sure knowledge that reform will not back net zero in terms of future climate change mitigation and adaptation. That's a very, very big concern. So, Julian, I'd strongly second that suggestion there, that we do get in touch. And what we do about the macro politics, that I don't know. I mean, it might even be out of our hands in terms of what the drivers are there.
I mean, once you got your constituency group, obviously you can not only sort of talk about the Climate and Nature Bill, but also, for example, Friends of the Earth, who we're affiliated with, they suggest that the priority is a strong climate action plan, which the government has a legal duty to prepare by November. So that will be a really hot topic at that time.
And I don't know if Jackie's on the call, but she did a great job at the on that Saturday on the 21st of June, taking Roz a tour de table around all the stalls and that sort of thing. So she deserves a lot of credit in terms of networking as well. She's offline at the moment. She's in Scilly Isles. Yeah, I hope she's got better weather than we do out here. Wiltshire.
So thank you. Yeah, so to wrap that up then, if anyone wants any help in progressing this, please get in touch, and we'll continue plodding on to try and help to organise these things.
Julian, who's your contact at 0 Hour? Have you got?
Well, Jamie is the main one, but I'm also in the WhatsApp group, and there's various others.
Yeah. I'm on that group as well. So let's sort of maybe talk offline in terms of how we get
okay.
really they've got a great head of steam. They had back in January, they had potential support of 200 MPs out of the whole house, and it's
Right.
only the politics of Labour that managed to kick that out. So Ross said she's not giving up. I know pretty well, so she's going to stick at it.
Good. Okay, so move on to number 2 in our reflections, and that's a bit of you reflecting, if you have anything to reflect on the 20th and 21st of June event, and whether you've got up ahead of steam on any of the issues that were raised on those days. I mean, it's okay if you haven't or didn't go. It's just it'd be useful to know, have any feelings back, because we won't be doing one next year with council. They've said they will not do one next year, but they will do one in 2027, and we're going to talk to them about that fairly soon to try and work out what that might look like. Yeah, Matthew.
I thought it was a great event, fantastic, and I was certainly spurred on. I think meeting the climate officers face to face was a real benefit, and I've been, for example, on the business side, going around businesses in Chippenham in the town centre, trying to tell them about the energy grants, and I've had mixed success. I've had going into a 4x4 garage perhaps wasn't the best business to start with. So we had a long talk about EVs, but yeah, some success as well. So some people who are struggling to get the grant because they've got that leaseholder relationship with their landlord's not supportive, and everything they need to do is kind of, building related. So, but yeah, I've been very spurred on by it. Absolutely.
Okay. Julian next. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly remind people, Bill, that we are hoping to do one with Swindon Council. Wiltshire didn't want to do it again, but Swindon are very keen to do it next year. So hopefully we can work together. And Wiltshire Council did say they would support Swindon to do it. But, obviously it will be a lot of work, and it may be a smaller event, or it may be, we haven't tied it down yet, but Swindon are keen to do something next year. So bear that in mind. And I'm keen to do the sort of future looking, reflections on it. And I'm keen that we do keep events going in each of the settlements, which, using the massive amount of contacts we've collected and their slides and materials from the summit to do local meetings as the basis for engaging people. Yeah, I was very pleased by it but I unfortunately didn't have time to watch it because I was too busy running around trying to capture stuff and do things. But it is all online, and most of the presentations and the slides are online for the community day and the business day. And please let me know if there's anything that you can't find on there that you want in particular, because I will chase it.
Thanks, Julian. Shirley.
Thank you. For us, my colleague who's just started at Eco Church in the Church of England in Melksham was very pleased to meet someone from the Bishop of Salisbury's office. And I have signed up for the community energy thing that's happening later this month. And thirdly, I managed to be put in touch with somebody who might help us progress the micro hydropower scheme in the Avon in Melksham. So all those three things were really positive, as well as enjoying it. Thank you.
Thanks, Shirley. That's brilliant. Richard.
Yeah, I mean, this is really Jackie rather than me, but the council were keen to sort of link up with the retrofit advisors that we've got trained across the county, and ultimately set up a one-stop shop type thing where people can go for advice, etc., etc. So that's being progressed by Jackie and the council. So that's another really good positive outcome from the summit. So well done, everybody. Brilliant.
Yeah, we'll come on to that one-stop shop thing a bit later on, actually, Richard. So it's good. Anthony.
Yeah, just very quickly. So just agreeing, Shirley, with the interest on the Eco Church side. So Kit Connell, and for anybody not aware, he is Environment and Sustainability Manager at the Bristol Diocese. He came along on Saturday, the 21st, and with his stall, was very pleased to meet lots of people. He met Ross, for example. And yeah, I just need something back, really, Bill, in terms of how I circle back. So both Jackie and I managed to get Kit to come along and say 5 minutes. You may remember he gave a very, very quick tour de table about what the church, what the church is doing and why the eco-church movement's important. So if I've got a form of words that I can circle back with Kit, then we can see whether we can spread the word to all the churches in the area.
Okay, so what are you, sorry, I'm not quite sure what you're looking for from us.
Something like 3 to 5 lines in terms. So obviously, we've got the website, we've got the summary details, but what is it that we want him to do, really, Bill, at the end of the day?
Okay.
It's what's the call to action, if you like?
Okay, well, yeah.
Thanks.
Good question, and something I think we've got lots of things we want to do over the next 12 months, and we'll maybe touch on those later. But
do you want to shoot me a draft and then we can work on that together?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I can do that. Okay.
I'll make sure Jackie's looped in as well.
Yeah, okay. Chris.
Yeah, I love the idea actually of that you went through there, of Swindon doing it 1 year, Wiltshire doing it the next year, and because hopefully this will just carry on, and that we'll have summits every year that we're involved with. Could you just talk through what processes are in, because you mentioned that you're meeting with someone to talk about maybe 2027 and so on. Can you just give us a bit more information on how that might work and who's going to be at that meeting and so on?
Well, I think there'd be 2 or 3 from the original Wiltshire Climate Alliance group going. I mean, and you're welcome to come, obviously. But the meeting will be with Vicky Burville and Sarah, probably. Sarah, help me. Sarah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Sarah Valdis.
Sarah Valdis, sorry, yeah. To talk about the principles of that 2027 event. But it won't be taking place until sometime in September.
Okay.
Because they're now, I think they're on holiday this week. I know Sarah's on holiday this week and next week. And Lynn has already said that she'll go to that was the other thing I was just going to come back to in a minute about sorry, yeah. So things off on till September, and she and Jackie are going to meet up after when they're back, so that they can talk about the retrofit stuff. So that's the other thing that's going on in September. So we will be meeting to talk about the 2027 event, and we'll be talking about that as well. But we're also going to be talking about a lot of other things now, because we engage on a number of fronts, which I'll get to later in the meeting. And so we have, I won't say quite an open door for anything to talk to them about now, but we're certainly, I went and had a long meeting with them about the lottery fund on Monday, and they are very receptive to looking to work with us in one way or another. So I don't think we did ourselves any harm with working with them on the summit, ultimately, even though it was tense in some areas.
Yeah,
but I'll keep you posted, Chris, and put you on the list.
Yeah, no, sounds really good, because when you've got 18 months, you can make so much more happen than you can in the 7 or 8 months that we had before. Yeah. And that's why I couldn't get involved. But it feels like we could do so. One of the feedback comments was I wish we could have had a evening chat with each other. Do you know what I mean? People could carry on networking afterwards, etc. And we can make that happen with enough planning with evening events. Where people can socialise together, and so on. So I think Val must be around the corner, is she? Say hi to Val. Yeah.
No, somebody get knocked on the door. I had to do something. Sorry.
Yeah.
I can still hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I just let me know when the date is, and it sounds really.
Yeah,
good.
I will do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So I'll keep you posted. Right. Yes. Julian, back again.
been thinking about the timing for the Swindon event, and we have all out council elections in June. We may get quite a few reform candidates. And there is an argument for doing something in March next year, which is only about 8 months away. But if it was a little bit smaller, and we are better prepared in the sense that we've sort of done it once, and we'll have a bit better feel for what we need to do next time. I don't know if, Chris, that fits in with your timetable, but I'd be very pleased to include you in any meetings we have with Ed Jones, who's leading from Swindon Council on it. Yeah, maybe we can discuss that a bit. We haven't even sort of agreed a venue yet for Swindon, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. One other thing, going back a little bit, is on the stuff that came out. I have the slides from the EV charger guy, Alex, which he's happy to share and for people to use. I've already used it talking to my local community about the charger system they're trying to set up, and they're looking for volunteer communities who will take the next step in providing chargers for their communities. And I can give some more information if you want it, but I'll leave that as it is for now. But I have the slides of the whole thing, which you can use, you can read, you can do whatever. I think we might have even put them on the website, Julian, have we?
I think so. Let me have a check.
Yeah, so they're on there. You have a look and you can see that absolutely what he's talking about. And they're open for offers from communities, I think, until October. So if you want to get your community involved in getting chargers in your area, then now's your chance. They've got, I think, 3 million to spend on putting chargers out there for, and I'm emphasizing this with him more than anybody else, I think, but equitable charging for people who can use, who find it difficult, and so don't we all pay the ridiculous rates they charge when you go to commercial stations. And I can charge my car at home, which is fantastic, but that doesn't mean everybody can do the same thing. And that's the sort of thing he's looking at. He's looking at how people who charge at home when they haven't got a driveway, and that's their main target at the moment. So more on that another time maybe, but please have a look at the slides. It's quite
They
useful.
are on the website.
Yeah, okay.
I'll
Thank you.
just put the link in the chat to the page where they're linked from.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for all that feedback. It sounds wonderful. I'm really pleased so much is going on out there. It makes me glad we're actually doing something that people are engaged with and can get good stuff from. Third thing in the reflections. Oh, Anthony, yes. Before we go to the next one.
Sorry, Bill. I wanted to ask the question. If we're planning to run an event, sorry, I've come off camera because I'm having a bit of dinner here. If we plan to offer a summit, sorry, Swindon Council offer to run a summit in March 26, do we have the support of the 2 MPs as well, Bill, in terms of Bill and Julian?
Julian, I'm not known at doing that.
You mean the Swindon MPs,
Yeah.
Anthony?
Yeah, like Grant Matthew and Ross down here, Ross Savage.
Yeah,
down.
so Will is very supportive, and I'm sure he would support us. Heidi is Secretary of State for Transport. She is quite busy and I think less keen to get involved with climate focused events at the moment. But we'll see if we have it in Swindon. We'll obviously invite her and see how we can. It would be a good opportunity to try and engage her a bit more.
Yeah, I would have thought, Heidi, you'd have to pick up because transport is probably the biggest source of emissions, isn't it? Really?
Absolutely. And
So
we
you
have
would
tried
have
to
thought that's
discuss
right
this, but
up her alley.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Thanks, Anthony. So the final thing was there was a council meeting in July where 2 major things were discussed. One was this Limedown solar farm, which the council have registered, and they changed the wording in the meeting. I can't remember what the final wording was, but they oppose the farm. I think they were trying to weasel out of it a little bit because they thought they might get challenged on simply opposing it. So and that vote went through, I would say, almost unanimously in the council, which is very disappointing, but not unexpected, because there were at least 5 people lobbying them as I walked in the room. And they had a stand outside where they were presenting. I don't know why they were allowed to put a stand in the atrium, but they were, and they put one in the atrium talking about Lyme diet, where I had a brief chat with them. But I think it was disappointing, but not unexpected. I don't think there's much we can do about it. And I think from a political standpoint, they are probably opposing it because they know it's going to get passed somewhere else. And I think that's so from a political standpoint, they don't come head to head with Reform or anybody else, and they can just say we didn't like it, knowing that it's going to go through eventually. But it's a disappointing in some respects, but I can understand why they would do that with a majority of 0 in the council at the moment. They have to get all the independents on board before they can get a majority. However, in the second point, the climate emergency one, there was a motion put to by Reform there's 4, I think 4, or no, maybe 8 Reform councillors, can't remember the number, but there are a number, and they had put forward a motion basically wanting to rescind the 2019 climate emergency motion that was passed by the council, where they said they would seek to get the county of Wiltshire carbon neutral by 2030. And there was a lot of debate about it. I mean, the debate on that went on for over an hour, I think. And I said something, another guy said something, and I think in the end, there was an interesting back of office reaction to the whole motion when I was talking to a couple of people from Lib Dems in lunch, where they said this is touch and go, this one. Actually, it wasn't touch and go at all in the end. It was beaten by a healthy majority, because a lot of the Conservative voters either abstained or voted against it. So Conservatives are backing up what they put in 2019, and I think that's really good to know. That the ones that are left in there are quite a number who are wanting to carry on the climate journey. Disappointingly, their leader said he was going to abstain, but at least he didn't vote for it. So I think he's always said that we'd never make 2030, and he's been on that bandwagon since 2019. So, but the point was that there is a majority in the council who support climate action. That's the big point. That actually, even though you've got those Reform candidates, there is enough of a majority within the Lib Dems, the Conservatives, and the Independents to keep pushing climate action through the council. And they are, again, having spoken to the Lib Dems about what they're doing an awful lot now. They are pushing it, and the climate team are on board with all the things they're talking about. I can't go into the details yet because quite a lot of them are not public, but they really are gearing up to do some quite interesting things over the next year or so, which we probably get to know about in the autumn. They're releasing a paper, I think in August or September, where they are going to be describing the next steps they're taking on climate. And I think it'll be very much worth reading it when they get it, and maybe even going to challenge them on a few things if we can. But the point I'm making is that we have a more friendly council there than we did before, although we had got to a point, I think, where we got a fairly friendly council anyway. So let's work on it. Let's keep working on it. And I'll come to that a bit later on about something else we're doing with them. Anthony, quick one, please, because we've got to move on.
Yeah, I'll be really quick. Are they conflating carbon neutrality with net zero? Because I do know that Reform are dead against net zero, but I hadn't heard that they're nearly as deadly against carbon neutrality and achieving.
Well, don't forget that's what the 2019 motion said.
Yeah, that's right.
It was carbon neutral rather than net zero.
Yeah.
So I think
Only way of persuading more people that it's part of a journey. It's not the end game, and it's not switching off, fossil fuel companies that are transitioning.
yeah, I mean, if we need to explore that more, because I think we've got to face the fact that reform are going to be pretty strong in the next 6 months or so, or 12 months or whatever. So we need to think about how we address that.
Agree. Thanks.
Okay. All right, just lost me page. Never mind. I'll move on anyway. So the next item is let's talk solar. So, Julian, could you put up the agenda item again, just very quickly? So, I think the question to us is, how do we get community buy-in for the big push for solar, the needed for solar? And I've listed a few things down there that are going on. I've talked about lying down solar park already. Be interested in views in that. Personal installation and options. Solar Together are out there again for the council. I think they're getting an ever decreasing number of applicants, but they're still there, so they are an option. And then there are a number of other areas, such as Zero Chippenham, who are doing things pushing in the local community. But we, as a group, don't really do that very much. We don't push it into our community as much as maybe we should. There's also a thing called Future Energy Landscape, where the council are now pushing out. And I was hoping to be able to give you a bit more feedback on that, because I talked to them about it on Monday. And they didn't send me any information. So I can't actually tell you much more than there's this thing going out there where they're looking at the future energy landscape in communities. And I know they've already spoken to Bradford and Avon, but I'm not sure who else they've spoken to. Maybe Kate, they've spoken to Kate. Hang on a minute, Kate. And then the big thing is community options for that. What does that look like? And then local opportunities, which might come back to you, Anthony, and talking about what could we do from a church perspective in terms of solar that's not already being done. So thoughts, please. I mean, it just, let's talk about how we might get this out into communities in a better way, and what can Bush Climate Alliance do to push it? Because we have community energy groups in our group. So do we do a round robin around the county or something? I don't know, but questions for you guys. Kate, you wanted to say something?
Okay, well, I've been contacted by, I can't remember, is it Mark, who is the chief executive for Zero North Wilts, which was Zero Chippenham. And they have, as an organisation, kind of done a mapping of Wiltshire and identified communities that they think would be commercially viable as community energy projects. And they were particularly looking for organised or communities in the east of Wiltshire. So Pewsey came up on the radar. Pewsey is long and thin. We haven't got a lot of ground that we could do solar on, but we have got some. So what we've suggested is that we go with the next door parish, which is Manningford. And I put together all the names of the contacts, major organisations who would be initially involved in a day-long workshop. So they've got a process for engaging the community. So they bring sort of 25 people from the community together. They have a clear process. At the end of that, you've kind of mapped out what you love about your community environment, what you don't like, where areas could potentially be for community energy projects, be they wind or solar. What other projects have happened in the past, what other proposals have already been put through, all that kind of stuff. And then, as I understand it, at the end of the day, the workshop sort of kind of puts together the sort of final discussion, and it's opened up to the rest of the community to attend. So I've given all the names to Emily, who's organising it, and she is employed by Wiltshire Council and Zero North Chippenham to actually advertise and get the workshop out. And we're looking at a date in November.
Okay, excellent. So one of the things that I talked to the council about on Monday was that exact thing, that they are now going out into communities. So they've joined up with Zero North Wilts to actually do this, which is a really good thing to do. I guess the way we can help both parties is to go to the rest of the county and say, well, I'm already thinking of my parish around Westbury, whether we could actually get something going around there. So I think it's a really good thing to do, and to jump on the back of that joint effort would be really helpful. Matthew.
Yeah, we're hoping to expand the Zero Chippenham scheme as well, as opposed to the Zero North Wilts, which Nick is doing, to include Good Energy as a second installer. So they're very busy, seem to be taking over lots of companies, so it's stalled a bit at the moment. But if that happens, we'd certainly like to roll it out more to other groups again, you know, perhaps in a wider postcode area than we have, as an alternative or second option, you know, because I don't think we can hit solar together prices, but for people who might want something that follows the sort of sustainable sourcing initiative or something like that, you know, it might give a different angle.
Yeah. Okay. Julian, can you take the thing off so we can see people again? Thanks. Okay. Anthony again.
Yeah, just going to say, going back to the Lime Down and some of the concerns raised by the locals, it's not they're against solar power per se, right? At the end of the day, they're annoyed that it's being constructed in agricultural land, and they're worried about the detrimental effect on property prices, number one. And the second, Bill, is that they're concerned about how power would be concentrated. So once you end up with power generation from the facility at Lime Down, it's really what are the impacts on the surrounding villages with regards to how that power is distributed. So those are other additional concerns. It's not, so for example, if I have heard some protesters actually say if you install facilities on tops of warehouses, supermarkets, all that sort of thing, they're definitely not against it. They're for it, in fact.
Yeah, and I think that's a point that's raised many times, and I think you've got to do the calculations as to how many warehouses you need to do to get a Lime Down equivalent, and then you've got to work out how to get the power from those facilities to the grid as well, multiple connection points, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think as a scheme, it should have been done differently and should still be done differently. And what I said in the meeting on the council meeting was, this is probably going to happen, but what you guys should be doing is going and getting the maximum for the community out of it, not just sitting saying no, because otherwise it's just going to roll over you and you won't get any benefit whatsoever. If you go in there with two-pronged approach and just make sure that the maximum benefit comes to the community, then things will change. At the moment, I don't think anybody is pushing hard enough. And I told the council they weren't pushing hard enough either. And I think they're not. They're just sitting back and saying, we don't want it. And actually, it won't be their decision. And if it goes ahead, what the council going to get out of it? So I think understanding all of those things and understanding that the community should benefit from these things, not in the same way that they get the odd £1,000 thrown at them. They need to benefit in a real way, like Zero Chippenham, which is now Zero North Wilts, has got shares in a big solar farm. And that's what should happen for the community, to have shares in something like that and get a real return out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to see a return on the investment.
Yeah. So, but as a scheme, it's a very big scheme. And if the other thing I said was, you should be talking to them about how to minimise the impact in a positive way rather than a negative way. Anyway, no more on me. Matthew.
Yeah, as you know, I was on social media, certainly quite sort of pro Lime Down and very much calling the Lib Dems hypocritical in that they had the 90% renewable target by 2030 as well. And how would they do it? But then I did take a step back and thought, well, okay, are there, how much solar do we have? Do we have our fair share? And there's lots of publicly available data. So there's the solar roadmap for 2030 that came out a month or so ago, which is really interesting. And one of our town councillors, Gemma Grimes, is actually policy director of Solar UK, and has had a lot of input on that. So I've been trying behind the scenes to pick her brains. And as she said, the problem is a lot of the data that they haven't brought it down to county scale. You know, it's a national target, really. But you can look at how many domestic installations there are, and it's all fairly amateurishly put together in different spreadsheets. You can see what ground solar is there, and I've calculated that we've got about 6% rooftop coverage and that didn't include industrial, and I couldn't work that out. And we need to get to 40% rooftop coverage in their plan by 2030, which is a massive step up. So we need a massive step up in rooftop coverage. That's absolutely written. And then I worked out at the moment, if you take the things like Eden Renewables and the ones that haven't been built yet but are, you know, ready to go, I think we've got about 7% of national solar generation. So we do have in Wiltshire a lot of solar generation. That is fair. We don't have much wind. We've got a tiny bit at Pertwood, I think, is the only one I could see on the list. So you could say, well, is that a fair proportion, or is it just the way the markets work? I don't know. We're in a county that's perhaps suited to solar. And then you'd say, well, okay, if by 2040 we've got to get from 18 gigawatts nationally up to 47 or 45 in solar, is it fair that we increase in that proportion? And if we do, it needs about 3 lime downs, I think, to hit that. So it's a massive scale increase we need. Plus, of course, battery storage and all those other things. There's the NESO, isn't there? The National Energy System Operator. They've got their goal for 2030 as well, showing the mix of different renewables. So there's a really ambitious target, I think. I think, to give Ed Miliband and Labour credit, this is, really ambitious if they can pull it off. But yeah, it's going to be very controversial to actually implement.
Yeah, I think one of the things we should do then as a group is working off your basics. We should have a small working group, volunteers, hands up, to work out what the potential, what is the actual solar being put into the county now, including domestic rooftop and ground mounted, so we can see what farms around. And when I did a Gemini study a month ago now, and it was quite interesting to see what was coming out of that. But and then we need to work out what the area of potential rooftop availability is in the county, whether it be rooftop or car parks, which is what I put on my list, to see what else we could put in the county that wouldn't be 2 more lime downs. And I don't think anybody's done that calculation yet. And the other thing is, we should actually think about what happens if we put 6 turbines in, for example, of medium size, and how that would work up, so that we then got a good argument to put together to talk to people like the lime down community about this, or people are thinking about doing solar but not quite ready yet, or whatever. But that would be really helpful if we could do that. So even if it's only you and me, Matthew, then I think we just need to work that through and get the figures together and share it and use that in conversations with our communities.
Yeah, I've certainly got Gemma's ear a little bit. She's mostly talking to Ed Miliband, but she's promised me she's going to pull out some extra data on Wiltshire to try and drill down a bit. So
well, I'll share with you what I've got as well from Gemini, and then we'll start talking about other stuff. Okay, Kate, and then Tim.
Yeah, just a couple of things that come out of this community energy workshop. One is that it gives the Wiltshire Council a very good foundation by which to judge any community energy projects that come up in the future, and that they'll know what the community feels. Secondly, if you do a private, like Lime Down, a farmer sets up his own solar panels, he does not have to do a community assessment to get it through. So if you've had one done with a workshop, then it gives the Wiltshire Council much more power to their elbow to say yay or nay when a private one comes up in the area.
Yeah.
And the third reason to do it was in 2 parts. One is solar is great in the summer. but actually in the winter, not so effective. And actually thinking about having wind turbines would be a better option. So one wind turbine would serve the whole of Pusey. The only problem is we're in an area of outstanding natural beauty. But one of the things that the workshop will consider is whether or not we would accept the odd wind turbine, particularly in industrial areas. That brings me on to the fact that they are spending millions at the moment burying the overhead cables that go along Pusey Vale between Pusey and Devizes. God knows where that money's come from and why they're being buried. They are, because just purely on beauty. And the third thing I did ask about was whether any of the community energy projects had thought about microgrids like they have in Africa and India, so that I can share my solar panels with my next door neighbour thatched cottage. And actually thinking, instead of connecting yourself to the grid, actually just connecting yourself as a local network. So quite a lot coming up.
Yeah.
So we'll have
Well,
to
the community, what was it? The not can bill. There was another one, which didn't get through Parliament, the last Parliament. I don't know what it's called now, but it was basically making sure that you could actually sell electricity locally in that local area and not just stick it onto the grid. And I think that, I don't know where that's got to, and maybe that's something we should be raising with our MPs. Anyway, Tim, yes.
I'd love to follow up on some of these conversations. It may be too much to try and do it all now, but before the last election, when the wind was still prohibited, onshore wind was still prohibited, we looked at Wiltshire, and there's, give or take, for Wiltshire to be self-sufficient, the projection was equal amounts of solar and wind, and the solar was short, but not short by a vast amount, and the wind was non-existent. Now, the problem with the wind stuff is twofold. Do we have enough windy places, as well as what Kate was saying about whether people will tolerate it? There aren't, I don't know the answer, but there's certainly a lot of places that aren't very windy in Wiltshire. There may be others that are, I don't know. But of course, the other problem with wind in Wiltshire is that because it's been prohibited for the best part of 10 years, nobody's got any plans coming forward. So the question I'd like to discuss with Matthew at some other stage perhaps is, our fair amount could be judged in terms of we're a southern county where solar is better. Our fair amount could also be judged in terms of how much we consume in the county and what we would have to do to achieve that. So there's lots to balance up. I think what I'm hearing is that you're slightly skewed, Matthew, saying that we should build more solar because we're a county which is a better county for doing it. And we're very happy to get behind that argument. But the gap in the thinking, I think, is around what we can do with wind and how long the lead time would be as well.
Yeah, sorry, go on, Matthew. Yeah.
Sorry, Bill. Yeah, I was surprised, Tim. My rough calculation of percentage showed that we were at 0.56% already, which may or may not be accurate, of land coverage. And I'd been using the argument on social media that we only need 0.5% of land coverage. And then I thought, well, okay, that's probably averaged across the whole country, isn't it? If we have 3 lime downs, I think we're up at about 1.7% of land coverage. And so, as you say, is that genuinely, is that fair? I don't know. Should there be wind as well?
If the figures that I was looking at, which I don't completely remember, roughly worked on a 50-50 split between wind and solar. And as I say, if we just look at what we consume in Wiltshire rather as the definition of fair, then we were somewhat close to the solar number. But if we're not going to have any wind at all, we've got to double it.
Yeah, well, I think watch your space is all I would say for the moment. I think there was a motion put forward in the council, I think a couple of years ago, or maybe we just talked about it with the Conservatives, where they actually put their own ban on it because the government had put a ban on it. And I think it's about time we resurrected that and came back to the council and said, can you withdraw this ban that's in a bit like Reform did on the climate stuff. I'll check up on that because I think there was a motion for, I can't remember when it was now, but it's quite some time ago, on wind.
I have the same recollection, Bill, that they had just echoed the national ban.
Yeah, but they actually had put a motion forward and passed it. The point is they have to withdraw that to actually be able to move forward positively. I don't know whether they're doing. Okay.
Bill, that was 2014.
Was it? Yeah.
Yes, 2014.
Right.
I spoke in the council meeting on the health aspects because that's my background of the wind. But in fact, then it was overtaken by the national situation. Yeah. I would doubt that might still be imprinted on some people's minds, but I would doubt that trumped the national changes. I mean, it may just act as a mental break on people's attitudes. I don't know. But it was 2014.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Claire.
Hi. I just wanted to understand about data collection on solar. Is that done by installers reporting? Is the data on installations, is that reliable? When I or somebody else installs solar panels, is that being collected? Who's collecting it? Is that done nationally, locally? What happens to it?
You have to have something called an MSN license to connect yourself up to your solar, to your provider, and so it's all collected nationally by the distributors. So it is quite reliable.
Somebody somewhere has got that information. So
yeah,
we'll
it goes
dig
up
it
to the
out
national
and
grid.
we'll share it with you, Claire.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, I think that's been very, very helpful. I don't know whether certain people who are already running community energy schemes want to say anything. Richard?
Well, I'm not running community energy, but I know Rosie's in the room, and I know there's some stuff going on with NADA community energy in terms of things we may be able to do. One of which is to put some more solar in near Tisbury and sell it directly to people who are connected to the Tisbury substation. I think the new legislation enables that. I'm not fully in the picture. Rosie might have to put me right. And I think the other thing is, I think there's a potential for us doing one of those community kind of mapping exercises as well. Is that the future energy landscapes? I think.
I think that's what that's all about.
Yeah,
Richard. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think there may be something going on down in our neck of the woods too. But Rosie might need to put me right because I'm a bit vague.
Yes, I'm also very vague, and I know I shouldn't be. I think your understanding is my understanding, Richard. So yes, yeah. The moment it's collecting information, the idea is to have a local community energy project. And at the moment it's at the stage, I think things like sort of planning permission and liaising with the landowners and that type of thing is going through. And as you say, it's about providing energy for Tisbury from people within the substation area of Tisbury. And I think for it to be viable, there needs to be interest from 50 people, 50 households. And I think at the moment the interest is at 36. So I think there's still a little bit more work to do to make it viable, but I think that's ongoing. Does that make sense?
I think that sort of information, Rosie, is vital. I mean, if I'm telling my local community that we might be able to get some community energy that services us, how many would be interested in actually having cheap electricity from your own solar farm and batteries to help? That's got to sell it. That's got to be able to sell it.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I've been quite surprised by actually the fact that there is only 36 people showing interest at the moment. And the way it's being put to people is not so much cheaper electricity, because I think that is actually debatable how much cheaper it will be. I think the main people who, certainly from the meetings that I've gone at, well, there've been 2 sort of public engagement meetings, and the main thing seems to be for people, perhaps in my situation, where I can't put solar panels on my roof because of but I want to do the right thing. And I think that seems to be the main selling point, I think, for sort of right-minded people who either don't want to invest in it or for some reason aren't able to. So I think it seems to be, you know, people who have got solar panels have come along and they've said, well, we're sort of we're doing that anyway. So and the way it's now being approached is, I think, sort of rolling out a bit further and being available at lots of local events like fetes that are happening over the summer and that type of thing. And it is interesting how many people are sort of showing interest that way. It is in that, you know, there's been some publicity material produced, but it's funny how that hasn't elicited as much interest as one would imagine, because I think, again, there's always that slight concern that even though we are saying we are NADA Community Energy, we are all volunteers, that there still seems to be that suspicion there that you might be suggesting something that commits people. I think the thing that we were pleasantly surprised about, because it's about it's extending a ground-mounted solar array that's already there, is we thought there would be resistance to that with the negative publicity there has been about large solar farms and that type of thing. But that hasn't, but I mean, because it is being done very sensitively and you can't see it, and the idea of saying it's a chicken farm, so it's a win-win situation because it's beneficial for the chickens and the land wouldn't be used for, you know, it's not taking any land out of some other production. And I think that's been quite a positive thing. So yeah.
Okay, thanks, Rosie. That's really helpful. And again, I think the book we're writing on solar and local solar is going to have to be written by somebody, because it's got so much information coming out tonight. I'm hoping the AI is catching it all while we're doing this.
Right.
Yeah, Shirley.
I don't know if people remember, but in about 2011, the council commissioned CAMCO to do a huge report, which I found impenetrable. I've actually got a hard copy somewhere in this house, and I might even have it electronically. And then a few years ago, about 4 or 5, I don't know if it was CAMCO, but another report was commissioned again to look at what the topography and the other considerations suggested would be ideal places for renewables in Wiltshire. And so it seems to me
that was a paper written for the local plan. It's in the local plan I'm not sure. I don't think the Conservatives put the whole idea into the neighbourhood plan.
No,
and it was one of the things that we challenged them on. But it was definitely LUC, I think rings a bell. The report was written by, and they looked at both solar and wind, and they identified a number of areas where wind could be put in. And they also identified a number of opportunities for solar. So that was in that last report in 2022, 2023.
Yeah, that's the most recent one.
Recent.
But there was an even earlier one that was even more comprehensive, but it was pretty impenetrable and very, very technical, which is why I didn't get through it. But it just, if a working group's going to get into the technicalities, it just seems to me those 2 things might be useful.
Yeah, good. You want to join it? Come and join us. There's only 2 members at the moment. Richard, I know you'll join us.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. On a slightly different note, in Donhead St Mary, I also help with our village hall, and a group called Chimera Energy, who I'd never heard of before, wanted to book the hall to do like an evening's kind of like advice session about solar and stuff like that. which was last night. I haven't got the full details, but I think only 2 people turned up.
Right.
But I mean, I think there's a real lesson here, because I don't think anybody knew who they were and there was no trust there. And I think this is something that we can work on in our communities, because certainly if anybody has a question about solar in my community, they come and talk to me, because they know I know stuff about it and I can help them out. So I think if we are looking at ways to get solar out there into the community in whatever way, you have to have a trusted relationship. And that's something we should be mindful of, I think, whenever we try and promote something. So we've got to, and I think Wiltshire Climate Alliance and all the groups that feed into Wiltshire Climate Alliance are uniquely placed to fulfill that trusted role. So yeah, let's use it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think maybe it's partly answered Rose's point earlier about trust and how you actually get more people engaged, because they don't trust people. They think you're out to rip them off for some reason or other. And I know the feeling. You make any inquiry about anything to do with renewable energy now online, and you get 100 people ringing you up. It's awful. And being bombarded like that doesn't do anybody any good, and it just turns people off. If you're not really dedicated to the cause. Okay. Anyway, thank you. I mean, that's a very full, and I think I'll just say I think I've got Tim, Richard, Matthew, all joined in this. So we've got a small, and I don't know what to call it yet. We used to have an energy group, so we'll stick with that for the moment. Maybe we'll call it renewable energy, just for the hell of it. And we'll set one up. And anybody else who wants to join, just put their name in the chat and I'll grab it before the end of the meeting.
I've just added mine to it, so yes, please. Thanks, Paul.
Okay, thank you. Okay, on to the next item. Julian, can you stick it up again, please? Because I'm going to have to talk again. Come back, Andrew. Okay, so question to you all: how would you spend £1.5 million of grant money on climate-related issues? I'll try and put my slides up on the back of that. So just read down that for a minute while I try and work out how to do that. I just want to go to something I've done earlier. Be a minute. No, you're gonna have to do it, Julian. I can't let you do it.
Let me stop sharing that, and I'll share the other thing.
Okay. I must practice that more.
Right. This one?
That's the one, yeah. Okay, so let me just work slightly busy slides. Can you see them okay? So this is a Lottery Community Fund opportunity, and called Climate Action Fund, Our Shared Future. And there are a number of key points we have to work from to decide whether we're going to do this. Just so you know, the meeting on Monday was about this fund with the council, working with the council, and I'll come to that maybe later. So the key points about the fund is it's between £0.5 and £1.5 million over 3 to 5 years. The majority of them we want to put 1.5. Partnerships only. Okay, so you can't go into single items. We couldn't go in the WCA, council couldn't go in the council. So you have to make a partnership against the project you want to deliver. And you have to sign a formal partnership agreement with your bid, so it goes in showing that you have a partnership agreed before you submit. And the drop dead date is the 17th of December, although I'm feeling that it is probably on a first comes first served basis, because several groups unfortunately have submitted and not received a yes. That's how I know about them, because if they had had a yes, probably wouldn't hear about it. But so we've had feedback from 3 groups, I think, who've been turned down, and we need to take note of why they got turned down later. And it's in the projects. So the projects have to inspire more people to take climate action, which is good, and become more resilient to the change. So what do we do as a project that helps people take climate action and makes them more resilient to change, and or possibly, I don't know whether we're going to do both or one. We need to influence communities at a regional level. And in discussions with the council, they wanted to limit it to Wiltshire, but I think it would be a negative on our bid. We're already talking to West Berks, because West Berks are the people that put us in touch with this opportunity. And one or two or three of the options I will show you in a few minutes will actually address that regional basis thing. We need to link the climate action to everyday lives. So what does it interest in local communities? We just had a very long conversation about the local community energy, and that might be part of it. But the big issue, which is the reason that the 2 of the 3 that were turned down, was because they did not involve people, places and communities experiencing poverty, discrimination and disadvantage. So how we do that, with, say, community energy or something else, I don't know, but that's something we'd have to debate and make sure we really did address as part of the project. And then we've got to help communities influence policymakers. That could be part of the project. It doesn't. I think that's a fairly low level thing to hit, because talking to the council, talking to central government, we've already had that conversation this evening in this meeting. So those sorts of things we can do and will do. Okay, next slide, please. So some project ideas. Is that the last one, or is there one before after that? There should be 3. Try the next.
Yeah, that's the 3rd one.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's the 3rd one. Okay, go back to the 2nd one. Sorry. So these were the ideas that were sort of sprung out of an informal meeting we had before I met the council, with 3 or 4 of us in the group. And the first one was the Great Western Greenway, which looks at providing basically a green active travel route across the region and joining up with the one that Somerset are already building. How we make that work around disadvantaged communities, I think we'd need to work very carefully on. I know Andrew had some quite good ideas about how that might work, but that's one opportunity. Now, 1.5 million will not deliver the Great Western Greenway, but what it would deliver is a foundation upon which we can build the network Great Western Greenway. We can get legal opinions, we can get land allocation, we can do all sorts of stuff, but it will not pay for the whole thing. So we would have to go for further grants, which this bid allows us to do. The regional retrofit support teams, which is what was talked about by people earlier on the one-stop shop for full retrofit. How do we create a project that supports that? And we've got to be really careful here, because it has not to clash with funds that are already being given for things like this. So we have to be understanding of how do we avoid that problem. Now, one of the things I was talking to the council about, for example, was the Great Western Forest clashing with the Great Western Greenway, and whether that would be an overlap and therefore not make it invalid. They're gone away to look at that. So if we thought about other things that may be the same, we'd have to get that checked through as well if we go with the council. And my recommendation would be, at the moment, we should, but that would be a debate for later. A regional community energy project development, not-for-profit supporting community developments. Maybe we'll look at something like that, where we do go back to the future energy schemes, where we work with, and we talked about that tonight as well, how we work with the council and others to create community energy projects. And that very well might be able to help disadvantaged communities by providing them with very cheap electricity or not. So there's a point there. Thank you, Kay. We'll come. Lots of ideas coming up. And the final one, my pet subject, but there you go. Equitable car charging facilities across counties. If you have an EV, you know that charging at home is very cheap and therefore good. And when you go away and have to stop off and charge, it's bloody expensive. And if you haven't got a charging point, or if you're low on income and can't afford to put a charging point in, for example, then there's no way that you can get low cost charging. And my thinking was, how can we create charging facilities where by using a tap card, whether it be an RFID card or your social security card or whatever, you tap it on the thing and it gives you cheap electricity for your car because you're in that band of deprivation that allows you to do that, and therefore you get free or cheap, not free, but cheap energy. And that was my thinking. How do we create a model that does that, and we could test it out in the county or in the region even. So those were the four main thoughts that we had. What I would say is that there may be many others, and what I'd like to do now is just for a 15-minute period. I don't even know what the time is, but we're running on for nearly 2 hours already, so we better make it just 10. But if we can have 10 minutes to just think in groups, just thinking through what we might want to do is in the lottery, and any general ideas about whether we as a group, WCA, should go for it anyway. Because some people might say that's ridiculous, don't do that. Too much energy to expend for too little return or something, I don't know. But let's have a go. Julian, could you set us up?
Yeah. Can I stop sharing that? It's a bit silly.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Because people need to see that as well, won't they, I guess?
I don't know how you do that.
So breakouts. So
maybe you could just copy the headlines of those 5 bullets into the notes or something.
Yeah.
Can you see the notes?
Sorry, I meant
and
chat.
then should we have 4 breakout groups? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I can do that. And is there anything you want me to do before?
I'm doing it.
Okay, good. Right. So as soon as you've done that, I'll open the rooms then.
Sorry, I
Okay.
put them in 4 different things.
Right.
Hitting return's the wrong thing to do.
Oh.
And EV charging. Okay, done.
All right. Sorry. I didn't tick the box to say put you in automatically, so you might have to join. Hi everyone. Are you having trouble joining, or did you not want to join? You're on mute, Maggie. Sorry, I can't hear you because you're on mute.
Sorry, I've been muted
That's
all
it.
this time.
Right.
I had room 4 or nothing,
Yeah.
and the one I
shall-
wanted to join into is the EV charging one. I don't know
Okay.
which one it is.
They were all sort of general ones actually, but what I'll do is I'll join you with the one of the others, which has
Yeah.
got not many people in there. That's okay. Whereabouts are you in Wiltshire?
Oh, yes, I should have put that on. Rusty, Warminster.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I've got to go soon. I have a
okay.
limited tolerance for Zoom, to be honest, and I've got other stuff
Okay.
I've got to do tonight.
All right. Well, I'll put you in if you like, and then
Yeah.
then you can obviously leave when you need to.
Okay then.
Nice to see you anyway, and hopefully
Yeah.
catch up with you again soon. All right.
Right.
See you in a minute.
Cheers.
I don't need to be in a Zoom breakout. I'm just waiting for the feedback from it.
I can only just hear. Is that you, Andy?
Yes, yeah. I've covered up my camera, but I'm still videos. See, I'm still here. I'm just going to go and do something. Be back in 2 minutes. So.
All right. Thanks. And are you okay, Shirley?
You're muted, Bill.
Sorry, I said good when you said I was muted. Sorry, my voice is going. So the group one I'll start with, which was us, which was Joan, me, Julian, and Jez. And I think the main things that came out of it were one, there was a tick for the one-stop shop retrofitting, which seemed to fit the bill, but we need to think about how that works in terms of dealing with disadvantaged communities. The next one was supporting or subsidizing e-bikes instead of subsidizing electric cars, to provide a more cross citizen support network to deliver something that could be done relatively cheaply, actually, and provide a very wide network of bikes that could be bought at a discount or rented at a discount or something that would enable that to be issued into areas where people generally don't have cars, but they would like to get around and all that sort of stuff. So that is a real potential, although we need to build on it. And the third one was for one that Kate, I think, had put up already, which was loft clearing and insulation, which at first thought sounded a bit, but actually the more we've talked about it, or the more I talked about it, it got to me, and I thought, actually, that's a really wide-ranging cover for an awful lot of things that would get us two things. One, it would get people who haven't got insulation in their loft with insulation. Two, it would allow retrofit lead advisors to go in and provide more advice, what else they might be able to do. And maybe that team who are doing the loft clearing could be trained up to do other things as well, like simple insulation or whatever, window insulation, or whatever. And it would engage young people because we could train, as suggested in the note, school leavers to do it. And it would cover the disadvantaged area, and it would also cover other areas if we wanted it to. So actually it does fit neatly into, and the more you build on it, the more you could see it could work. And the suggestion was we did a pilot project to start with, which then built out to show how we could do it in other areas, while we were looking at other areas that would be suitable. And it could be cross-regional because it doesn't have to rely upon a Wiltshire wrap. So that was our ideas. Over to group two. Group two? Who's in group two?
That was us, and we discussed that idea. And we went.
We stole
further
your
with it,
idea.
which was-
Sorry.
It was my idea, a mad
Yeah.
idea. The boys just sat there with their mouths open, completely shocked for most of it. And the advantage is that once you're linked into a school, you're linked into a community, and everybody in the school knows so-and-so's auntie and uncle and great-grandmother who lives down the road and great-aunt Betty. So you've actually got a community network and a foundation of that trusting relationship that Richard was on about. That, you know, it is a school and it's my mate Kieran, who was in, you know, my year at school kind of thing. So it's a way of the school getting the tentacles out into the community through the family relationships to identify people and to give those young people the beginning of work experience, and retired people benefit of their experience in driving a van. And it would involve, you know, the Centre for Sustainable Energy in providing some basic retrofit advice to the older people and the young people just to assess an attic to suffer from condensation and that kind of thing. But the benefits are huge: 25% saving on your energy, 25% much improved cooling for your house in a very hot summer, and it, as you say, starts to get the whole thing going a bit in the communities that don't normally
Yeah, and we could scale it. We could scale it. We all sorts of spin-offs from it. Kate, it's a really good idea. Really good idea. Okay, group three.
Okay, although we had two community energy people in our group, we actually got quite enthused about the concept of the you know, the green active travel route.
Yeah.
but maybe kind of extending that, or trying to extend that to look at connecting settlements with active travel routes, because you've got so many co-benefits that you can build into that in terms of physical health, mental health, community cohesion, and also biodiversity, because if you're creating these green active travel routes, you're also creating biodiversity corridors. You could link that with what you were talking about in your group about the e-bicycles, maybe, because if one of the things that you're able to do with this network of active travel routes is get people out of their cars, obviously it ticks that, so many climate benefits and pollution benefits and all the rest of it. But also, we just got quite enthused by that one, actually. We didn't really talk about the others, I've got to say, but just going back to the loft one, this is just a thought. I mean, again, that could link in with stuff that the council might be doing in terms of partnership working, because they could identify maybe also particular, houses, deprived areas, people that could benefit from that service. So that's
yeah. And the lead advisor thing, we're trying to set that meeting up if it's not already set up with the council. I know Stacey was pushing for it, so that could tie up with all of that anyway. So, but the Great Greenway, we talked about it as a Great Greenway, but also it was exactly what you said, between settlements. So, for example, coming in from the east, you probably hit Marlborough and go that way, so you whatever, so it's that was it. Okay. Was there a fourth group? Matthew, are you the fourth group?
No.
Sorry, there wasn't a fourth group.
There wasn't.
I don't think so. I mean, it was set
okay,
up
that's
at
fine.
that point,
So
I
we have
think.
the three
Is that
groups.
right?
All right.
Is everyone, anyone left out?
No, good. Okay. Yes, Matthew.
Adding on to your idea about the Great Greenway, I mentioned the work of Cycle Chippenham, because we opened up a little length of cycle track today, and we have Martin Smith there. In terms of unlocking cycle networks by using quieter back streets, and then having the intervention at key points that allows them to be signposted as a cycle route. And it was a collaboration between Green Square Accord, who had the land. So it was in a deprived area of Chippenham, where and it linked up a couple of schools and a scout hut and some of the new estates being built to the south. So with a relatively small amount of money, you can unlock a much bigger cycle route, because it costs so much money, as you know, to do these things. And we're still short of a little bit for one of the links that we need to do. But you could perhaps replicate that across using the LC whip routes, but maybe on quieter streets. I mean, maybe it's happening, I don't know, but it was just a different way of rolling out cycling infrastructure and getting a good return for your money.
Yeah. Okay, so what you're saying is, rather than interurban, you're talking about interurban, you're talking about inurban, because you're trying to create corridors through the urban area to take you from school to shops to whatever.
And it was a partnership that linked up Wiltshire Council, Bath and West Community Energy, Wiltshire Wildlife Trust put some funding in, and Green Square Accord offered the land. And it's still controversial, it still gets local people complaining. We have one lady moan at us, but relatively speaking, it's a good way of unlocking quite a long route for not too much money. It's still £30,000 or so for a ridiculously short length of tarmac, but
Yeah, it's always a problem, and I never understand how people price things in the way they do. The only problem I'd have with that is LC whips drive grant money, and LC whips are sort of the issue that might take it off our radar, because it's something that the council already get money for. Whereas the Greenway one, there's no funding, as far as I'm aware, to deliver that sort of thing. So I think we can put it on the list, but I think it might be lower down than I think we just have to keep working harder at it, Matthew. Okay. Julian.
I was only going to comment that I would tend to support the helping people to plan their cycle routes and, you know, and hopefully get some of the money for the actual construction from elsewhere. But I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah, I think that's the point about the 1.5 million. It would not build us an inter-regional cycle route. It will not, but what it will do is set the foundation for that solid, and the grant money would have to flow into that to deliver the route sections that we would. And how we got that grant money, well, maybe go and talk to the 150 million grant money that's going into transport in the local area or transport infrastructure in the local area and ask for it from there. But that's something the partnership would have to work on. And that's what one of the main drivers would be: go find some funding to do all the things we're planning. So I can see that the structure would be quite easy to put together to show what we would do with it. But we've got to battle with if we did that one, we've got to battle with the council to say, yeah, the Great Western Forest is nothing to do with the Greenway, because that's what they're arguing at the moment. Anyway, they're all good schemes. I think one question I have, final question, and thank you for that, and we will be all recorded somewhere so we can actually list them all out, which is great. But just one final question. Do you, as a group, just put your hands up if you think it's a good idea to go for this lottery grant? Offer why not? Tim's not sure. Okay, well, we got a majority. I was going to ask you to be treasurer, Tim, but you obviously don't want to be that.
So I'm a terrible one for it's good vision, but I would like to see a little more flesh on the bones before I was ready to say yes.
Yeah, I think everyone.
It's not because I don't think there's great ideas, right?
I think, okay, the next move is we are going to have a conversation with the council again, because they've taken a couple of things away, so you know. One of the things was they suggested that they would be the banker, which actually would make it a lot easier for the group, the partnership, to work, because they would run it on a transparent basis and they would take the money and issue it wherever. So we don't have to set up a treasury department to manage our 1.5 million. We've got one that's been volunteered. And the second thing is, I'm slightly less excited about, and I've got to think about it, and perhaps other people could comment, is they would like, if we go into partnership, they would like to employ the people under an independent head through the council. And that for us, it gets rid of all the problems of employment, HR and everything else. But it also takes away perhaps the freedom of who we could employ, although we would have to be very careful about how we stipulated what we want and who we want and how we would get them into the team to employ them. Because clearly we'd want 4 or 5 fully full-time employees in our group if we were going to spend 1.5 million quid. We're not going to do that voluntarily. We're going to have a group of people working for us to do it. We have a lot of volunteer help, of course, but they need to be a core that is paid for and is solid and that can move forward. And so the council's offering as a free treasury sounds to be quite a good idea. And perhaps taking the people who are employed under short term, like they do already, for short-term contract work and off grants. Some of the climate team are employed on that basis, for example. But they would be working for whatever we called the project team. So they wouldn't be working for the council, they'd be working for the project team, whatever its name it is, but they would employ through the council, which saves us all the hassles of having to get employment sorted out and everything else. So that there's positives, and as long as we can put the wrapper right around the people we want, then I don't see that as a particular problem. But it just made me a bit nervous to say, And then, of course, they have to have a hierarchy within the council who they report to, and then you think, yeah, you're just taking the whole thing away. I got basically, excuse my French, end of a long week. So that's for debate. And to picking Tim's point up, we're going to talk to them early September and go through their next steps of thinking and our next steps of thinking. I'm going to send them the notes, some notes of this meeting tonight to explain where we've got to in our thinking, so that we're not cold when we get to this meeting at the end. And the only reason it's being postponed is because of people we need to talk to on holiday. So I wanted it earlier than that, but they can't do it before that. But the first week in September, we're meeting them to go through the next stage of this. And I hope then we'll have enough information to be able to convince Tim that it's a good idea. Okay, we have one final item to go, which I'm going to perhaps just park. And thank you so much for all the stuff you put in tonight. It's been brilliant. But park the last one, which is about retrofit and green open homes, because I'd like you to take away the thought that it's not going to be a Wiltshire-wide one this time, although it should be, because we'd like local communities to run them rather than run the whole of Wiltshire, which is what happened last time. And it was very hard work, but we'd like other people to take up the baton and actually take their local community into a retrofit green open homes week. Obviously, you can use all the same facilities, and WCA will support all the groups. Please take that away with you too. So we will help you get into green open homes, how that works, and all the other stuff that goes with it. But Jackie this time, and she still will be there to help, but she doesn't want to take the whole thing on because it got too much for her last time, and I can understand why. It was quite a challenge to her. So I'm asking for help from the communities to help themselves to show how retrofit and everything works. And we have, I think, 6 retrofit lead advisors within WCA as well, so they can come in to help those local communities as well. Okay, question from Julian, or statement from Julian. Tim's come back on, so we'll speak to him in a sec. Yeah, Julian.
A couple of quick things. So yeah, on that green open homes thing, the everything is set up on the website. I was sort of involved in sort of organising it as well. I mean, the trouble was, I think Jackie tried to run a centralised sort of ticketing system, which was a lot of work. Now, there are different ways of doing that, and I think we could, do it on a more distributed approach, or or less of a formal tickety type thing. And so I wouldn't be too daunted by doing it. And what I was going to suggest was, if anyone can put in the chat, anyone would be interested for just sort of being a sort of like a hub in their area. And the main things that they need to do, as far as I see it, is A, identify any new homes, and B, just help to promote it in their area. And we've already got a sort of core of homes in each area, but it would be nice to have a few more. And obviously it needs promoting in each area. So that would be, for me, the key things. And we need to sort out the booking system so that it's not a lot of manual work, which may be easier said than done, but I shouldn't worry about that. We'll do it somehow.
So a small working group, Julian,
Yeah.
you and Jackie at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if please put in your chat, the chat, and we will probably need to send around some other messages to try and reach out to people to identify who can do it in each area. The other thing I was going to say was, while talking about putting things in the chat, what I didn't do clearly earlier on is say, if you would be up for being a contact point for helping to bring together a group of people to meet your MP in September, then please put your name in there as well. There's only 12 of us left, actually, so I'm 14. Sorry, I'm not holding out big hopes, but if you would be interested in doing that, please also put your name in the chat and say which constituents you're in, and that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, Julian. Tim.
Very similar to Julian, actually. You did answer one of the questions, which was what was the obstacle, and obviously the obstacle was Jackie was run ragged, and I can attest to that being true. So as Julian said, the area for delegating things would be drumming up interest in terms of hosts and guests, but I would think it was probably a good idea to keep the centralized administration, and I would be very happy to be involved in that. I think we got we didn't have a fully automated system last year, and that was where a lot of the tension was. But if you tried to delegate that out and have 15 people with their own clipboard or spreadsheet, each covering one area, I actually see that being harder.
Okay. Well, I think there seems to be a German of an idea as to how to do it differently, but the same. So I suggest, Jackie, Tim, Julian, I don't know who else would want to be involved in it, but those three particularly should talk through this in some detail and try and formulate a plan as to how Green Open Homes is going to work this time around. Because we don't want to drop it, that's absolutely certain, but we do want to do it the right way. And I think that the lessons learned from last year we should be applying to ourselves this year. So I'll leave it with Jackie, Tim, and Julian to get on and chat, and I'll let Jackie know that she's got the support, and there's lots of ideas flowing. So I'll just leave it at that for now. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate that. Claire.
Joan had put in the chat, when is Green Open Homes? September was mentioned.
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest.
When are we talking about? It's not September, is it?
Well, what I would hope that we would be able to do is do another little promotion around October time. Yes, September's too soon, as you say, because, this is the last meeting before then and people are on holiday. But October, sort of late October time, I would suggest, because it would be good to have one before the winter again. And then, we've been trying to have, like promotion events spring and autumn time. But we need to get it a little bit more organised so that it's not too much work for Jackie.
Okay. We don't know is the answer, Claire. But we'll set if there isn't one, we'll set a date in October.
Okay.
Okay. Maggie.
Yeah, one thing that I found incredibly useful when I was a customer for Green Open Homes was the follow-up survey, the future-proof survey from CSE. And that really was the difference that meant that Max and I managed to get to the point where we now have an air source heat pump. And I wondered, is that going to happen again this time round, or was that a one-off?
That's a good question. So both Green Energy and Future Proof sort of have done sort of promotion schemes of that sort. They both offered free surveys for heat pumps and things. And hopefully one of them will want to do it again, but we'd have to confirm that. I think probably Good Energy would be happy to, because they got quite a few leads from it.
Good.
I think the only danger with Good Energy is they're a company.
Yeah.
And I think
CSE are a charity.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I think we might get some. The only way to deal with that, you need to talk about it more. But I think you could say, give us some funds, and we'll do it. But you can't be involved in it because you're trying to sell heat pumps. So I don't know how you could word that, but I just think it's a bit. We'd have to ask all the heat pump suppliers in the country to come and work with us, and then it would be better. But it's just one heat pump company going to sell the idea of heat pumps under our umbrella.
Conflict of interest, yeah.
We've got to be very careful there, I think. But I like the idea of getting some grant money on them, and they just bugger off and let's use it. Okay. So, but CSE surveys, good question. We should ask them.
It was very, very useful.
Yeah. I'm not sure they only do it because the government have given them money to do it. So whether they've got that money this year or not, we'd have to ask. Okay. I think we're done. Thank you very much. It's been a much more of an engaging meeting than sometimes I think it's going to be, but Christ, it's been educational. And I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And we'll be back at the beginning of September with our next meeting, but certainly there's a lot of things we'll be reporting on in the meantime. We might even stretch out to a newsletter out of this meeting. Okie dokie. I'll see you next time. If you want to stay on, please do. I'm off. I've lost my voice completely now, so I'm going.
Okay. Bye.
I'll still be here if anyone there's questions in the chat here, I see.